What is going on, YouTube? I am Lamont at large. Today I am in Austin, Texas. I'm here to talk about the Austin yogurt shop murders that occurred over 30 years ago today. As of the recording of this video, this case remains unsolved, but many people think otherwise. December 6th, 1991. I can't believe it's yogurt. You got two employees working there at the time. 17-year-old Eliza Thomas and 17-year-old Jennifer Harbison. Jennifer's sister, 15-year-old Sarah Harbison, and her friend Amy Ayers had gone to the yogurt shop to catch a ride back home with Eliza. When you ask a couple people who were at the scene that night, they'll say that really nothing was out of the ordinary, except there was two shifty guys acting kind of weird, looking around a lot. One of them had asked to use the bathroom, was in the back a really long time. The yogurt shop closes at 11 p.m. The day's receipts are counted. About an hour or so later, an Austin patrol officer notices there's a fire coming from this shopping complex right here. He radios dispatch to call the fire department because the fire is starting to rage. The fire department comes, they put out the fire. The place is just covered with smoke and waters everywhere from the sprinkler system. And one of the firefighters sees three nude, charred bodies stacked on top of each other. And not only that, their hands are bound behind their back. Later on, they discover there's a fourth girl that's a little bit down the way from them. It looks like we have the scene of a quadruple murder. So they call for detectives. They go to the scene and start collecting evidence. They take the bodies down to the medical examiner's office for autopsy. During the autopsy, it was shown that at least two of the girls were raped, and they were all shot in the back of the head, execution style, with a .22 caliber pistol. Now, going back through the evidence, it looked like Amy Ayers originally survived the first gunshot to the back of her head, and possibly she had crawled away. One of the culprits noticed her, pulled out a .38 revolver and shot her in the back of the head before gun whipping her. You got four dead teenage girls here. This story was all over the news here in Austin. About a week later, after the murder, a kid was arrested for brandishing a gun at a mall here. His name was Maurice Pierce. They took him down to the station, and of course, he also has a .22 caliber pistol. So they're sweating him, they're questioning him, they're talking about the murder, asking him where he got the gun. He just told them that him and his friends had stole a car and they were joyriding around town. He names his friends. They get a hold of the friends. They question them. Nobody admits to anything. They did a ballistic test of the gun and it came back, quote, unconclusive. They didn't have any evidence. DNA technology is still in its infancy. Whatever DNA could have even been collected at the scene of the crime has been washed away due to all of the voluminous amounts of water that was ran through the sprinkler system to put out the fire. A number of years later, new detectives, new fresh eyes, they're looking at the case. It's constantly in the news, and they look back again at Maurice Pierce, and they also look back at the three guys that were associated with Maurice Pierce: Robert Burns Springsteen, Michael James Scott, and Forrest Wellborn. They questioned them all. Forrest Wellborn denies any involvement in the crime, as does Maurice Pierce. However, they're able to get a confession from Michael James Scott. He confesses. He says, yeah, I killed him. I shot so-and-so in the back of the head. I don't know which one I shot, but I shot him. Robert Burns Springsteen, who at the time lived outside of Charleston, West Virginia, he was grabbed by the police, taken over there, and he was questioned as well, and he also confessed to the crime. Now, you got two confessions to the crime. You can quite understand that sometimes when police interrogation tactics are a little bit over the top, that they will elicit once in a blue moon a false confession, and we must always be aware of that as a society that demands justice for such atrocious crimes such as this. However, to elicit two confessions from two individual people who had somewhat intimate details of the crime scene, you're looking at an open and shut case as far as you can see, right? However, others would say wrong. So Springsteen and Scott were quickly arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. Oddly enough, Forrest Wellborn was released due to insufficient evidence, as was Maurice Pierce. Later on, Maurice Pierce dies in a shootout with the police, and Wellborn has never had charges brought up upon him. But the Austin DA's office, the Travis County DA's office, moves forward with the trial. But Springsteen and Scott, they both recant their confession, and they both say that they're innocent, that their confessions were false, and that they were harassed by the police. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the problem with the case. Because of all the water from the sprinkler system washing away whatever potential DNA, they don't have any DNA of those guys. Of the 4 guys, there's no DNA. The only thing they have to go to trial on is their confession, right? I mean, who's going to confess to a crime they didn't commit? That's insane. That's all they have. Now they have 2 guys on trial for these girls' murder, and all they have is their confessions against themselves and each other. They're both found guilty. Robert Burns Springsteen is sentenced to death, and Michael James Scott, he receives a life sentence, I believe, because at the time of the murders, he was under the age of 18. However, their incarceration would last less than a decade. An appeals court overturned their convictions because of a separate court case where the U.S. Supreme ruled that 2 men's statements could not be used against each other because it, quote, violated their constitutional rights to confront their accusers. More legalese that the average man and woman does not truly understand. And in 2009, Robert Burns Springsteen and Michael James Scott were released from prison. They walked out of the courthouse, and the Travis County DA at the time, Rosemary Lindbergh, said that she was not going to pursue a case and try them again for the murders. And right here where it says Beauty Bar Lounge, this is where the horrible murders took place almost 30 years ago. I don't know how you would get 2 people that had somewhat intimate knowledge of the crime scene, of the layout of the place, would both confess to 4 murders. I, for one, don't commit crimes, much less these crimes, so why would I confess to something that I didn't do? And I believe one of the men, Springsteen, has made an attempt to sue the county for false imprisonment. However, he has not proven that he was innocent. So as of right now, I believe he is not entitled to any money. So right now we're going to take a trip. We're going to go visit the final resting places of the victims of this atrocious crime. So here we are at the Austin Memorial Park Cemetery, and I was walking and I seen this grave with a very beautiful inscription on it. I am the rainbow after the rain. I wonder who she was, and this is why I do videos such as this. And just so happened that it rained a little bit today, and it's raining a little bit right now. And when I looked up to continue my search, there across from me was Eliza's grave. May 16th, 1974 to December 6th, 1991. Together forever, and it's the pictures of her friends that she was murdered along with. Get a better shot of that. Together forever. Remember our girls. And I'm assuming this is her mother right here, Maria Rose Thomas. Died without having known true justice for her murdered daughter. I often said it before, and I'll always say it again until I join the many folks here in that great equalizer known as death, that murder is the worst crime. Look at this young girl, only 17. My heart breaks for both these people. All right, we're gonna make one final trip up the road here. And here we are, our final stop. We're at the Cooks Walden Capitol Park Cemetery, and these are the graves of the other victims of the yogurt shop murders. Amy Leah Ayers, Sarah Louise Harbison, and her sister Jennifer Ann Harbison. And what compounds this tragedy even more is the release of those individuals. And the family members of all four young ladies don't get to see justice. And it looks like to me, after reading about the case, justice is just not going to come. In 2017, through advancement of DNA, there was a YSRT. I believe it's a form of, or is part of the DNA. It was a sample that was taken from one of the victims, and it was compared to a database, and it got a hit. So the detectives got really excited and let the family members know that they had got a hit. But the only problem is that part of the DNA is not exact. The hit that it got was out of a database of a research facility that was doing some kind of research on people and just population. But the people that had signed up for that research, when they signed their paperwork, they signed in the contract that there would not be any misuse of their DNA, and basically their DNA would be kept private, even though you have a murder here, they're not able to let the detectives or the Texas Rangers know what name that Y chromosome was hit on. And the problem is, even if they told them the name, that doesn't mean that the person is the killer. It would just mean that the person is somewhere down the road related to the killer, but that could just mean thousands of names. So it's not an exact science on that section. So it's more than likely that the match that they hit wasn't even the killer, but maybe was related to the killer somewhere down the family lineage. Rest in peace to all these victims, and off I go. They will always be remembered by their family and their friends and just people who felt this tragic story hit them in their gut like a gut punch. Some people could be very vicious and some people could be very disgusting. And it's a sad, sad world that we have to live in, people like that. But billions of people on the planet, you're going to have a couple bad apples. A couple really, really bad apples. And you're going to just have, of those bad apples, you're going to have some utter and complete monsters. All right, guys, I'm Lamont at Large. I'm signing out. I'll catch up with you on the next vlog. Peace out.